Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Michaela Kerrison, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Flight Lieutenant William Mildren. This evening, we warmly welcome the delegation from the New Zealand Air Force Museum. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors to the memorial. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are one and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil, our home is got by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains, then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
Thank you. If you're able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Lance Corporal Francis Paul Easton. Francis Easton was born in Sydney in 1873, the fourth of 8 children born to William and Eliza Easton, who had emigrated to Australia from England in the 1860s. The family moved from Sydney to Brisbane when Francis was around 6, and he attended Kelvin Grove State School. Francis' father William died in 1890, leaving Eliza to care for her 8 children. After finishing school, Francis began working as a stockman in Queensland. In 1900, Francis Easton joined the 4th Queensland Imperial Bushman Contingent on the 18th of May. He left Australia, bound for South Africa, to fight on behalf of the British in the Boer War. Francis served until February 1901, when he was returned to Australia as invalided. He returned to the Boer War in January 1902, enlisting with the 1st Battalion, Australian Commonwealth Horse. Following his Boer War service, Francis moved to Bundaberg, where he worked as a stockman and horsebreaker. Easton enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 24th of August 1914. He was assigned to the 2nd Horse Regiment and left Australia on the 24th of September in the troopship Star of England, sailing from Brisbane to Albany and then on to Egypt with the 1st convoy. The 2nd Light Horse landed in Egypt on the 9th of December. At the beginning of May 1915, the unit joined the rest of the Mediterranean Expeditionary Force in Gallipoli, serving dismounted while their horses remained in Egypt. The 2nd Light Horse took on a defensive role for most of the campaign, though it was involved in an attack on the Ottoman trenches opposite Quinn's Post in early August. After suffering heavy casualties, the regiment was withdrawn from the front line in September 1915. Easton formed part of a detachment that was sent to Mudros on the island of Lemnos in November 1915, where he was joined by the rest of the regiment a month later. The 2nd Light Horse Regiment returned to Egypt in early 1916, sent to Warden on the banks of the Nile in mid-January. At Warden, the regiment was tasked with protecting British interests from groups of pro-Ottoman Sunnis. On the 27th of March, Easton was promoted to Lance Corporal. In early May, the regiment moved to join the forces defending the Suez Canal from Ottoman encroachment. In August 1916, the 2nd Light Horse Regiment played a significant role in turning back the Ottoman advance on the Suez Canal during the Battle of Romani. On the night of the 3rd of August, the men moved into support positions with Easton commanding a section. Early in the morning of the 4th, the section came under heavy fire from Ottoman troops and was forced to retreat to their horses. During the retreat, Easton and a private from the section was captured by the Ottomans and taken prisoner of war. Easton was first interred Afyon Kara Hisar camp before being transferred to Izmit camp in Constantinople. While in Izmit, Easton fell ill with pneumonia, typhus, and dysentery in November 1916. Francis Easton died of dysentery on the 19th of November 1916 in hospital. He was 43 years old. Francis was buried in the Catholic cemetery in Izmit, though his fellow prisoners were not allowed to attend his burial or hold a funeral for him. In 1924, as part of the consolidation of prisoners of war graves, Francis's body was exhumed and interred at Haydar Pasha Cemetery in Constantinople, today's Istanbul. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, amongst almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Lance Corporal Francis Paul Easton, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and sounding of the last post.
They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. lest we forget.
We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.